All right, welcome everyone to the November 6th Ocean Ridge Commission meeting. And I'll be a little forward and say happy Thanksgiving because we won't see each other again until in December. So it seems a little early for Thanksgiving, but Gene, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Askoff,
Present.
Commissioner Kaz,
Present.
Commissioner Bonfiglio,
Here.
Commissioner Magruder,
Here.
and Mayor Pugh.
Here. Okay, can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Okay. We have any additions, deletions, modifications to the agenda?
Yes, I would like to add, I guess in action items, a motion to move up the December 4 meeting from 6 p.m. to 5 p.m. because I have a conflict. I've got to attend an awards dinner for the Anti-Defamation League, which starts at 6, but if I can get out of here, you know, by 6:30, I can actually get there by 7, which is actually when the dinner starts. So I'd like to add that to the action items.
13A?
13A, yes. And in town commission comments, I would like to add an invitation to everybody. I'm sure everybody already knows I'm running for District 89 State Representative. So I'm going to announce my my campaign kickoff party. So I'd like to add that to the town commission comments on item 20.
All right.
21.
21.
What's the date of the December meeting?
December
Second.
4, I think.
4th?
Yes.
Any other additions or deletions? All right, somebody make motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda as amended. Second.
Motion and second, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, before we get to public comment, we'd like to recognize the fire chief of the city of Boynton Beach, and you'd like to come up and say a few words. Chief Joseph, would you like to come up? We appreciate you coming by tonight. We've been looking for you for about,
I try to make an appearance every once in a while just to know, so you know what I look like. Mayor, Commissioners, Glenn Joseph, Boynton Beach Fire Department. Just wanted to introduce my senior staff came along with me. This is Kathy Clines, who's a fire marshal for the city of Boynton Beach. I think she covers you as well. And Jeff Davison is the deputy chief, also the emergency manager, which we interacted well with Chief Hutchins on our last little soiree with the weather. Worked out really well. The cooperation communication was consistent and continual, so we worked well together. A few quick updates from the fire department. We added 6 new firefighters to Station 1, which is the station that services this area more. So it gives us more flexibility, more resources in that response. So we should see, I think, better service coming out of our city to yours. Other thing is that we're upgrading our fleet with 2 new medic units this year and an additional new fire truck. So we're just keeping the fleet refreshed, making sure we're reliable and responsive to your needs. The last thing is the Town Square project, as it stands right now, includes a new fire station at Station 1, which is the station that services the Barry Island mostly. So we're looking for good things in the coming years. You have my card. Any questions, comments, complaints? Chief Hutchins and I speak on a monthly basis with the staff. So just let us know. We want to have to try to accommodate your needs. Any questions for me?
any questions for the chief? Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Short and sweet, appreciate it. All right, public comment. Anything you'd like to say that is on the agenda? You say it during the, not on the agenda, right, Terry?
Well, just general public comments?
Absolutely.
Is this the appropriate time?
Abs-
And you're going to allow public comments on the other agenda items as we go along, I
As we-
assume?
As
That's
we
the way-
usually do?
Way you usually do. As long as I don't go twice, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to give some of the manager and the commissioners a vote of thanks for some of the things that I think have happened that have been good. But I would like to comment on Boynton Beach's paramedic. I never had a fire issue, so that's not been a problem. But I have personally used the paramedic service 3 times. And let me tell you, in my assessment and experience, they've been fantastic. I know there's a 4% kicker there, but they've been fantastic in response and quick.
Yeah.
Okay, what I wanted to comment on is a couple of things that happened when I contacted the staff that works for Jamie Tipkin regarding a issue on the deck of the Porter Street that was broken. One of the planks was broken where people were sitting. And I must tell you that that was repaired in 2 days. And not only was it repaired, the entire bench system was replaced with brand-new pressure-treated wood. So he's on the job. I know there's lots of other things that he's involved in. And the other thing I wanted to thank the commission for is passing that ordinance finally on the lawn mower noise at 1 o'clock on Saturday. That was like pulling teeth from some of the people. You know, they wanted to go to 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. But I would have preferred to eliminate Saturday totally, but that wasn't going to happen in this town. And I wanted to thank Commissioner Magruder for his work on the sea level rise work.
Thank you. Next person. Hey, Charlie.
Charles Kittler, 35 Hersey Drive. I'd like to see the town council, and I've had pretty good response from the city here, but still the emphasis needs to be put on tree trimming of FP&L, Comcast, and AT&T lines, because we're still suffering down there on my street. Finally, AT&T's got its stuff together, but Comcast still needs to do some work, and AT&T needs a little more work. This is 2 months now. We're still suffering with sagging lines because people forgot to do what they should do during hurricane season, is trim your trees, folks, so they don't.
Mayor, can I comment on that?
Sure.
I spoke to the town manager and the town attorney, and maybe we could do this as an agreement, to take a look at the code on the trees and the wires, because apparently, from what I've been told, it's if the tree is touching the wire, then it will be cut. If it's not touching the wire, but if a wind comes and it would touch the wire, it won't be cut. So I would like the town attorney and the town manager to take a look at that specific code and see if there's a way we could make it more useful during hurricane season.
Maybe throw the chief in on that, too.
Yes. That's right, actually. I talked to the chief as well.
Good idea.
All right, so you can look into that, Jamie?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, great. Thank you. Joe?
I just want to,
Name, address.
Joe Belmonte, 5572 North Ocean. I forgot where I lived for a second. But I want to bring up some of the comments that were made about the park and the solar collectors that are going there. And I just want to give you a little bit of my background. At one time in my life, I was a chief marine engineer, so I know something about salt water. And I was also on the board of directors of a company called Ventana Corporation in the 1980s, which was an energy management company which had to do with a lot with solar collectors. And that company was eventually sold out to Northeast Utilities. And then I got an advanced degree in finance, which pretty much taught me how to spend money. And I thought that was pretty neat. And it's funny, my wife was born with all that knowledge. And I also managed and was co-owner of a hotel on the beach down in Pompano. Why I'm saying all this is because after the hurricanes in 04 and 05, I happened to be down at the park, which I absolutely loved at the time. And I was looking at some of the inspectors and following them around, and noticed what they were doing, what they were looking at. And then I was very surprised to see a lot of money spent on the park. And in my estimation, I thought it was a bit overboard. And then I saw them construct those sails that were put up there, and I said to myself, I kind of think that this park was designed, or the shade and the sails were designed by somebody who had never been to the beach before. And knowing something about corrosion on the beach, I saw those metal poles being put up, I mean big poles put up, and said, 10 years down the road, this is going to be difficult to manage. What I'm trying to say is that I don't think Boynton Beach spent their money wisely on that park. And then I heard last week they're putting up 14,000 square feet of solar collectors that are going to withstand 170-mile-an-hour winds. And I just want to say, I kind of think it's a bit overboard, and when you're dealing with solar collectors of any type, they have to be kept clean. And when you're on the beach, you have a lot of sea salt that's constantly on them. In the summer, it might not be a problem because it rains every day, but then when we don't have rain, they're not going to be very efficient. And I sort of think that 14,000 square feet or so of solar collectors trying to withstand 170-mile-an-hour winds, that if we get a hurricane, heaven forbid that we do ever get a hurricane like that, and you have 14,000 square feet of solar collectors wrapped around Town Hall and the police station and the towns on this side of the road, and you call FP&L to get them down, they're going to say, well, we have to restore power to our services and the people. I don't think it's a very good idea. The sails right now really don't give us any shade in the morning until about noontime when the sun's directly overhead. So our shade is gone for half the day. And then with these solar collectors, they're not going to give us any more shade. They might shade the cars, is what I heard last week. I just don't think Boynton Beach spends its money very well on projects like this.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Next person? Yes, sir.
My name is Ray Erickson on 22 Hershey Drive. I just want to spend a minute or two to talk to you about the concern of myself and our surrounding neighbors of the increased dogs on the beach, especially south of the south end of town, south of Woolbrae. And as you get over to Tropical, there's an onslaught of dogs that come on the beach around 5 o'clock. And they're also out there about 4 o'clock in the morning. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, all that depending on the daylight saving time. Anyway, I know the police have more important things to do than chase dogs around the beach, but it's getting out of hand, I think, that part of town. And just to share one story, I stopped a lady and I asked her about if she read the signs, and she said she didn't care. She said, usually when she sees a police officer, the police know her, and she's never been cited, and she just keeps moving on. And I've been down there several occasions. The police have stopped people, and they give them a warning, and the people keep on going. I just don't understand why they don't give out citations. That's it. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Chief will look into that.
Yeah, that's the chief.
What do you think, Chief?
Are you, you're saying that they're coming at 5 a.m. is when they're put on, or 5 p.m.?
5 o'clock at night.
At night? Very good.
7 o'clock, 8 o'clock.
We'll look into it. Some of those people have legitimate service, dog credentials they're presenting to us, so we have to be very cautious. That's what you see sometimes. Others do get citations, and we'll step up our enforcement.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief. Betty?
I want to second that. There are people running their dogs on the beach, unleashed. Betty
Name
Bingham,
address.
1 East Ocean Avenue, Ocean Ridge, Florida. Anyhow, they're not picking up after their dogs. And the good citizens who used to walk their dogs on the beach and pick up after their dogs can't walk the dogs on the beach any longer because they follow the law. And the people breaking the law are creating the same problem that was the initial reason for taking the dogs off the beach.
Thank you, Betty. Next person? Come on up.
All right, Greg Van Vliet, 17 Tropical Drive. I wrote an email to Mr. Tookham regarding our flooding down there. And the last 2 storms, we've had 2 floods. Hurricane Irma, September 9th, 10th. Felipe, Tropical Storm, 28th, 29th. And the last time we had major flooding, we had probably 11 or more residences that were flooded inside. We had an approximation of a dozen vehicles that were flooded. Which financial cost for having them taken care of and devaluation of cars because they've been marked as flood damaged cars. And my question being, and there's a number of us here tonight with concerns, is what is going on. I know Mr. Titcomb said they're trying to look at the problems with the pumps and the systems, and but the problem being is we're being flooded. And there could be things, I have questions to see if we can help resolve some of the problems. Being do the police on the duty have instructions to monitor the damage or the drainage systems. So if they see it's rising, and notify the residents. So maybe we can avoid some of the flooding, or the residents to get out of their units. One of the residents was woke up, walking into the water. Two of them actually, that I know of. And one encountered electricity. You know, we don't want somebody to get electrocuted. And if we find fault with the pumps and all that, there could be major damages. Do the police have a set of instructions to follow to see if the pumps ensure that they're working, or if they have failed? Do they know the people, the police on duty, what to do, how to get them started? Or do you have to wait for a supervisor to come in from somewhere to take care of that problem? Can they warn the residents? When they see it's rising, can they knock on the doors? So those with the vehicles can try to remove them, or get their personal property off the ground so it won't be flooded. Computers, whatnot. Turn the power off so they won't get electrocuted. And we've got a lot of damages down there, and we have concerns, and we'd like to know what's going to happen on them. And any cost factors. Can anything be covered by the town's insurances or anybody else?
Jamie, you want to answer some of those questions?
I'll try to address a couple of those points. First of all, as you do know, there was problems with the tropical pumping station, both in Hurricane Irma as well as in Tropical Storm Philippe. We just met with the electrical contractors earlier, this past week, and they have proposed to us, in both cases, the problems to the system has not been the pumps, but the electrical controllers that run the system. And we have a proposal working with them to look at rewiring that 14-year-old system to work more directly so that there is a fail-safe response, that when the power goes out, the pumps come on, come heck or high water, no pun intended. We've got a proposal in currently to rewire the system. We have to clear that with the controllers and the pump and the generator people, because there's actually several very complicated parts to the tropical system, the way it was designed and installed. And Kerry and Knuth, who are the town's electrical contractors, have given us a prescription in conjunction with Public Works and the police personnel. You mentioned the police. Do they know how to jumpstart this system or other staff members? I attended with the lieutenant the other day. I went down and walked through that process of manually engaging this system, and it is complex, and to the residents' concern, we're also concerned that somebody doesn't get electrocuted, or something fails, or somebody gets flooded. So we are working with the contractors. There are several that have actually created and installed that system to reconfigure it so that it is problem-free. I got several calls, as you probably know, from residents that had damage in the area because of flooding. And the problem specifically with that is people do need to make claims on that, because the town attorney has instructed us that we, without some codification, without documentation of the actual damages that we're dealing with and what caused them and how we go about that, it's premature for me to let the residents know that we can help them with this, or send them in a particular direction for resources or remuneration for damages they may have had. So the best thing that any resident that has had some damage can do is to make sure that's documented and make a claim. Even if your insurance company doesn't cover the claims, the process of documentation, the submittal, will help the town as well as we try to assist you. You probably also noticed the contractors for FP&L are completely staged in that area right now. Since Hurricane Irma and since Tropical Storm Philippe, We have had major electrical issues. Some of the other residents reference that they're still having issues in that immediate area from the electrical grid. We're having issues with that as well, and that's what keeps tripping up our system as far as we can tell by ascertaining what's going on there. We believe we have a fix to make it not a malfunction in the future. It involves rewiring it essentially, different than the original redundancy designs that were engineered into it. But our concern and our priority is to make sure that the generator and the pump comes on when the power goes out, regardless of what other systems are working or not working, because like the resident indicated here, we're very concerned about the electrical aspects because electric and water don't mix. And we need to have that system work fail-safe. So that's the plan we're working on with the contractors right now. If we get the buy-off from all three contractors, or four depending, there's the pump people, the generator people, the control panel people, and the electrical contractors. And if they all sign off on this plan to reconfigure it, we're going to move forward on that. And in Irma, you might remember we did stage what we call Big Blue, which is the trailerable pump down there. We do have a bypass pump system to the in-street pumps. Ironically, it's not the pumps that are malfunctioning, it's the electrical system that is driving them right off the grid. So we think we have a fix for it. It's big, it's probably costly, but it has to be done. And that's where we are right now. I've got those proposals in from the contractors, and we're ready to move forward on them as soon as we get everybody on board of signing off.
Can we get Hal to work with you to come up with a set of instructions for the police on duty as far as monitoring it and notifying the residents and giving them fair warning if at all possible? Because this doesn't, when we're in a flood stage here, we're notified. One was a hurricane. The other one was a tropical storm. They knew they were coming. It was raining, torrential rains, and it wasn't being checked on. And the timeline, I believe the timeline, according from what I can come up with, is notification, the emergency first call that you stated was like 2:03.
That's
2
the
o'clock
first.
time frame.
That's the first citizen call we got,
And then,
yes.
but I'm hearing it might have been as late as 4:45 before they got the power back on, or anybody even, nobody else was aware of the flooding until they get into the water.
That timeline's not accurate. Let's let the chief just address it, because we've been working very closely with the police department on the protocols and the fix for this. So if I may defer to the chief.
Based upon what the reports from our radio transmission unit reporting system gave us, is that we first noticed that there was a power issue. It was not a complete failure about 1 o'clock in the morning, sometime around there. The officers were in fact monitoring the water levels in town, and Tropical did not appear to be overloaded until about 2 o'clock when we got the call. When the basin filled, and it doesn't take long if the pumps are not running and we have a torrential amount of rain dumping into that system from all over, for it to become overwhelmed. As soon as we were notified that there was an issue of any kind, the officers responded there, contacted the lieutenant who worked with maintenance to try and resolve it. The way the system is set up now, that easy set of instructions you're looking for can't exist. That's what the manager's recommendation is. We are going to get a simple solution so that no matter whom may respond, they will have a clear definitive on how to get something running. At 3:35 a.m., so your 4:35 is the law, at 3:35 a.m. we were able to restore power to that system, and within 7 minutes, that 11 or 12 inches of water I keep hearing about receded down to the grates. It's far too late. It had already flooded. But there is some response time that it takes us to manage, especially when we lose both sets of power. My lieutenant and the officers that were here, along with maintenance and myself, have gone down with the electrical contractors and engineers, and we believe we have come up with a very simple solution for any future problems. My officers reported that when they responded to that area, It was sheet flowing down Tropical. It looked like waterfalls coming in. That's how much rain we had. In checking with South Florida Water Management and AccuWeather, we had about 8.68 inches of rain in a 24-hour period. With all due respect, most of that occurred between midnight and 4 a.m. So we were we were inundated with the water, and then the aggravation of no power, which is what we determined. We lost a leg of power from FPNL, which caused the pumps to not cycle properly, aggravated the situation, and once we got it running, it worked. There is no easy answer for Sunday night, or Sunday morning, Saturday night into Sunday morning, other than to say that, you know, based upon our knowledge of what's going on with the electricity down there, should we have another warning of a deluge of rain, you're probably gonna see that blue pump sitting down there, and you will have somebody that can flip that switch because it's not dependent upon the electrical circuits that we have. That's the best solution we have today, and hopefully tomorrow we have a better one.
Thank you, Chief. Brian, do you have anything to add regarding the taking of the receipts and?
Well, unfortunately, I mean, just hearing the descriptions and everything that happened, this was basically, it was a storm event. It was an act of God. We lost power. If anybody can figure out a way to go after FPL to file a claim when you lose power, I would be the first in line, because I can't tell you how much food and different things I've lost when I've lost power. It's one of those things that we just have to deal with. So at this point in time, unfortunately, that's where we're at. And I don't see, where the town has the responsibility, unfortunately, to compensate anyone for this, because if you want to start going down this road, then it's, it could never be ending, and that's how come that there are, certain requirements that have to be met before, a town's responsible. And an act of God, and when you lose power, is not one of those things. It's intervening events that come into play where, unfortunately, I mean, I'm, not trying to create excuses, but it's just one of those things.
If I may, maybe we need to look at a different way to do part of the drainage situation. Maybe we need to have a stopgap measure of the floodgates. Close the floodgates. If the power goes off, we have floodgates. We stop the pipe so we don't get inundated. The system has been designed for the south end of our town to drain into Tropical Drive. We're getting everybody else's water, but we suffer for it. We suffer financially. We lose time, we lose sleep, everything else to go along with it. We become angry over it. It's not an easy thing, but if we can look at a different way, if we can put it in the flood system, if we can put gates there, keep the water in their own areas for a while until we get it back up. So if the pump stopped working, the gates stop. So we aren't, shut the flow of water off so we don't flood in 15, 20 minutes. It does come rapid.
Yes, it does.
All right, there might be others here. I'll step down.
Thank you very much. Jackie?
Good evening, Jackie Kingston, 1330 Northwest 3rd Avenue, Delray Beach, Florida, 33444. I am a biologist, and I have been working with sea turtles here in Palm Beach County for 21 years, and I'm here for two reasons today. The first is I want to let you know about my nonprofit, Sea Turtle Adventures, and the second is I want to give you an update on our 2017 sea turtle nesting season. You can hand out the flyer. One of my volunteers is going to hand out a one-pager that I put together for you all. So Sea Turtle Adventures is a 501c3 nonprofit that I formed in 2016 in an effort to expand what our group was doing in the community. Previous to 2016, we've been working as individuals. Our motto is to conserve, educate, and inspire. And these three words represent the three core focus areas that our nonprofit is centered around. So for conserve, we have a team of volunteers who monitor a 3-mile stretch of beach in Gulf Stream, Briny Breezes, in the southern portion of Ocean Ridge. This occurs daily from March 1st through October 31st, so we just finished. I personally began monitoring the beaches here in Ocean Ridge 17 years ago in 2000. We also relocate nests when needed. We dig into a lot of the nests to determine how successful it was after it hatches, and we also assist with rescuing sea turtles that wash ashore. And we have a great working relationship with the 2 nearby sea turtle hospitals, that being Gumbo Limbo in Boca and the Marine Life Center in Juno Beach. Educate. We have educational programs available for people of all ages, both in the classroom and on the beach. Some of these are group events, such as we'll gather a group of people together when we dig up nests to determine how successful they were. Sometimes we find babies at the bottom of the nest and we release them. That's always a fun event. And for those who like more personalized experiences, we offer one-on-one sessions on the beach. We do ride-alongs on the ATV so people can get a better idea of what a day looks like in the life of a sea turtle monitor. And the third main focus area, Inspire, and this is my favorite area of our nonprofit. This is the area of our nonprofit where we help people get excited about nature and really find a passion and a desire to get involved and help out. We hold beach cleanups regularly. We don't hold any on the public beach here in Ocean Ridge because you guys already have a lot of beach cleanups occurring here by different organizations. We try to focus our efforts in the southern part of Ocean Ridge, Briny Breeze, and Gulf Stream. And we also have programs specifically designed for individuals with special needs, because one of the things that I found is that there aren't a lot of programs for especially young adults with special needs to give back in like the natural environment setting. A lot of their programs are more geared towards sports. And so we've put together programs where they can help volunteer and help us out on the beach. So those are our 3 core areas. One thing I wanted to mention to you was on November 18th, we are kicking off what is called the Responsible Pier Initiative. And this is a partnership between us, Sea Turtle Adventures, Palm Beach County, and the Loggerhead Marine Life Center. And this is going to be at the Ocean Inlet Park, the Boynton Inlet. And I will email all of you more information on that, and I'll post about it on our social media page in case you want to attend that with us. And with regards to our 2017 nesting season, similar to many of the other beaches along our coast, it was a record-breaking year for us. For the 3-mile stretch that we monitor, we recorded 1,077 nests this season. This is the highest on record. For the portion that we monitor here in Ocean Ridge, we monitor your southern portion, 0.5 miles. We had our second highest year, and that was with 203 nests. Unfortunately, we lost about 50 of these nests to Hurricane Irma. So in conclusion, our nonprofit Sea Turtle Adventures has been growing daily since inception in 2016. And with my 21 years of working with sea turtles here in Palm Beach County and a real eagerness to expand what we're doing here in the local community, we have a lot in store for 2018. So hopefully I can come back at some point, maybe in the beginning of next year, and give you an update on some of our plans for next year. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much.
Couple questions?
Sure.
Are you actually the group that marks the nests in the south end?
Yes.
You are? And then you mentioned 50 nests were lost during Irma.
Yes.
I noticed a lot of the turtles this year seem to be digging their nests too low, like almost below the high water mark. Are you including that in the 50 from Irma?
Yes, so what happens is we mark in our area every single nest. So if you're talking about that south part that we mark, you're seeing every nest on the beach. If there is a nest that's laid below the high tide line, we actually relocate it further north.
So you mark it and then come back and remove it?
No, we we relocate it that morning, right then when the eggs are fresh. So if you're talking about that south area, we mark everything. So those are the ones that, yes, were lost, unfortunately. If you talk about further north in Ocean Ridge, I do not believe that Sea Turtle Monitor marks every single nest. They don't have to. It's just a different marking protocol, but we mark everything.
And what's the name of the group that does the north end of town?
They are contracted with Palm Beach County Environmental Resource Management. Do you remember their name, Mom? I don't remember it offhand. It's a consulting firm. They renew their contract every few years.
Thank you.
Thank you
Any
very
other
much.
questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. All right, any other public comment? Yes, sir.
Tony Lucido, 15 Tropical Drive. I heard the town attorney mention about an act of God. It was raining 18 hours prior to the act of God, and we know, and everyone in the room knows, that those pumps do not kick on because of the electrical panel. Been that way for 8-9 months now. Nobody prepared for it. No one in the town said, hey, better go check Tropical Drive. Tropical gets dumped from, the whole town empties into Tropical. Someone should have been aware of the fact in the town, hey, go over there and check Tropical. These guys, and as far as 12 inches of water, I submitted pictures. There's 24 inches of water. It reached almost 3 feet of water until they kicked on the pump. So these guys got wiped out. My guys all got wiped out. Their cars, everything is totally destroyed. I lost all of my power equipment, all the stuff that cut the grass, trimmed the tree, everything is gone. You know, and it was no act of God. I mean, it's been raining. Everybody was aware of it. It was predicted on Friday we're going to get torrential rains on Saturday. And so all I can say is I feel bad for my people because they got wiped out. And if the town says we're not going to do anything, you know, what can I say? You know? But it's just, she has the pictures of how bad it was. That's all I got to say, guys. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes, ma'am. Oh.
Lucy Brown, 23 Harbor Drive South. At the risk of stating the obvious, it is kind of irritating that we can never read what's up there. It's really illegible.
Really bad tonight.
If maybe someone could experiment with, you know, maybe partially shading the lights in that direction or something. It's just
That's where you hand out the hard
something that
copies.
bugs me. I don't know.
We have plenty of hard copies if you need one.
Thank you. I know the hard copy I can read.
Yeah,
But,
exactly. Well,
I
that's the
mean,
thing.
if you turned
'Cause
it
if we turn
off-
But if we turn the lights off, then I'm sitting there, I need a phone to see mine thing.
That's better.
How about
See
that?
that better?
Yeah, see, that would be better. It's just if it's gonna be
Are we replacing
illegible,
that?
you might as well turn it off.
Are we replacing that with the next year's budget? No?
FY19, yes.
We haven't
Oh, okay.
considered that yet this year, apparently we will.
Okay.
I thought I was giving you an easy issue
We used to,
compared,
we actually
compared
used to
to
have
many.
it, we used to have it down here and you can't even see that one either. Thank you.
Patricia DiStefano, 14 Tropical Drive. After Irma, I came to the town and I asked what the problem was with the pumps, and I was told it was the motherboard that had gone out. Now, I'm being told that it was the electrical system
Same thing.
that had a
The
problem.
motherboard is the controller on the electrical system.
Okay. At that point, when you knew that that motherboard was having difficulties, and we were told we were going to have these torrential rains, why was not that auxiliary pump not brought down to the street and put in place? I would like to know that if we were warned ahead of time and we knew that there were problems with the main system, who would have made that decision and why did they not make that decision to move that auxiliary pump down?
In brief, that decision was made, and the electronics and controller motherboards and components were repaired after Hurricane Irma, and they malfunctioned again under the electrical problems of Tropical Storm Philippe. There was no indication that the pumps weren't working properly going into Tropical Storm Philippe, and we didn't stage the big blue pump there because there was no indication of a problem. We had no reason to believe that they weren't going to pump out.
Is there a way of testing that system before you have a storm? Is it regularly tested on a maintenance schedule every so many months?
It's continually worked on and tested, and that's what I was saying. It was tested after the Irma repair, and it tested fine. So there was no indication that we would need to stage a bypass pump there. As I mentioned earlier, the electrical system down in the south end of town is still being worked on. There are spikes, there are all kinds of things going on there that have affected the area, and they appear to continue to affect our control system for the tropical pump station. It's an old design. We're trying to upgrade it and bypass the anomalies that the electrical system has caused to it, because it's complicated, and even though it has redundancy built into it, somehow the redundancy is being overridden or disabled in the occurrence of electrical instability. So we're trying to determine what's causing that and then create and fix a repair that will work around that and eliminate that problem altogether.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? All right, hearing none, let's move on. All right, approval of consent agenda. Anyone like my motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right, announcements and proclamations. The town hall will be closed on Friday, November 10th, 2017, in observance of Veterans Day. The town hall will also be closed on Thursday, November 23rd, and Friday, November 24th, in observance of Thanksgiving. All right, moving on to public hearings. Jean?
Hopefully it doesn't revive. An application for development approval special exception submitted by Palm Beach County Board of County Commissioners to allow improvements to existing facilities at Ocean Inlet Park located at 6990 North Ocean Boulevard, Ocean Ridge, Florida, in the public ownership zoning district as a public park area, a marina with accessory buildings to be operated by the county. This item's been continued from the September 26, 2007 commission meeting. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. If there's anyone that's going to be speaking on this matter, I need you to stand now. And sworn in.
Anybody who's going to talk, you need to stand and be sworn. Yes.
As a group.
Okay. Do you swear, raise your right hand. Sorry. I'm a little rusty on this. Do you swear or affirm to tell the
Yes.
truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
You gotta say I do, Ted.
He did like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
All right, so you want to come up and, one of you guys want to come up and we'll give a quick review of what we did?
I've got a presentation, or if you want me to fix that, I mean.
Just come on up, and if we have, the commissioners have any comments, we can do, what do you want, I want to go over is some of the compromises we made for the extra vegetation and the presence of security.
I don't think anybody wants us to go around and round and round and go over things we've gotten over already, so.
And Mr. Mayor, if you want to ask for ex parte communication as well, now, you might want to do that before he starts.
Oh, when we had a meeting?
Well, no, yeah, just ex parte, if any members of the commission have had any ex parte communication regarding this item, not including, the discussions we had at the last meeting, but outside of this meeting.
Does it include talking to somebody from P and Z?
Yeah, well, yes, I mean, if it does, you can go ahead and,
I spoke to Mr. Gray.
okay.
What about the meeting we had with the Manalapan and, because that's outside this meeting?
Yes, it is, and that was just a general meeting that we had with Mr. Call, representatives of the county regarding the items that I think they're going to be bringing up as far as the security and the extra vegetation. So there was that meeting. Other than that, is there any?
I had a staff meeting, I think it was Friday. I meet with staff a couple times a month. And part of my staff meeting was speaking with the town attorney, the town manager, the police chief, and the clerk about these plans and the changes and the proposals that were presented.
Is that ex parte?
Well, technically, I guess it is, and I think all commissioners have had conversations with staff and everything regarding this item. So if there isn't any other communication than that, then that will, I guess, conclude the ex parte communication.
Thank
Okay,
you, Brian.
Thank you.
You mean like we went out to lunch with them and all that kind of, that's where you're going?
Well, that's
Okay,
kind of the
that's where you're
thing,
going.
yes.
That's where you're going with that.
Exactly.
Just wanted to make
So
sure.
I'm seeing there's nothing there, so thank you.
All right, so you want to start out with commissioner questions? Who wants to
Can we
start?
just introduce ourselves?
Oh,
by the
you
way,
can
so-
introduce
so you
yourself.
know who we
Yeah,
are.
that's helpful.
I've known, I've talked to you so many
Good
times.
evening, everyone. My name is Simon Coleman. I'm with Alan Gerwig and Associates. We're consulting engineers based in Wellington, and we are the county's prime consultant on this project. To my right here is Bob Hamilton, the Director of Park Development for the Palm Beach County Parks and Recreation Department.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I have
Go
I have
ahead.
questions. The last time you were here, one of the big issues was the security, and I understood at the staff meeting that there's either going to be a ranger or a contract security company. It won't be 24 hours, it'll essentially be on the weekend, is my understanding. Can you clarify what that is?
Correct. I think what was agreed upon by Eric Hall, who's the director of the Parks and Recreation Department, who's been able to make the meeting this evening, was period of time on Fridays, Saturday, and Sundays, as well as the holidays. I think there's a bit of a disagreement between the hours stated. I believe Mr. Call stated 12 to 6. And then I believe in this condition of approval, it's stated 11 to 7, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. So one of the things that we'd certainly be willing to do is to say state 11 to 7 p.m. with the ability to adjust the time as necessary with the approval of the chief.
Who's going to be doing this? Is it going to be a ranger, or is it the contract
That's still
security company?
to be determined at this
To be
point. It will
determined.
be either a ranger or some type of contracted security.
Are you going to be communicating with us on what that ultimate decision is
Yes,
going
we
to be?
will.
Okay.
Can we just clarify that? I missed the time here, 12 to 6 or 11 to 7?
11 to
Well, I believe the last communication that was given to me by my director was 12 p.m. to 6 a.m., Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, as well as holidays.
Gotcha.
As the condition, the language is written in the condition of approval states 11 p.m. to 7 a.m.
On the holidays, is that the federal legal holidays?
Yes.
And so if I can, just to clarify, so you're okay with the 11 to 7 with the ability to change upon approval of the chief?
Sure, I think that's something we're willing to work with. Here, the one concern I have is perhaps sometime down the road, we might want to expand the hours, or we might want to shrink it down to 12 hours, depending, what we're seeing out there.
What does security mean?
Security means having a staff member, either a ranger or a contracted security guard that will be on premise between those hours, walking the site, talking to folks, having someone there between those hours, not, going through a number of different parks, actually on site during those
So
hours.
there for that entire time?
Correct.
Well, let's, just for the public's knowledge, what it was that Palm Beach County has, I believe, 2 parks that are open 24 hours a day. One is Ocean Inlet Park over here, and the other one is up in, Blue Heron, I believe.
At Phil Foster Park.
Yeah, Phil Foster. So what happens is that from usually midnight till 7 o'clock in the morning, there's no one there. As unfortunately, the tragedy just happened recently with that. The town of Ocean Ridge does go through and patrol that area, but the sheriff's department actually runs the farthest northern part of the northwest side of the inlet. So with this project that they're doing, what the town of Ocean Ridge wanted to do was at least to see if we could make a compromise where we could have security there during the time, where the peak hours would be the weekends, and holidays. And because the main reason is that the only people allowed down there at that time is people who are fishing. Well, how do you know who's fishing and who's not fishing? So that's what we agreed on with the county. The county has agreed to that contingency, and this is why they're here again, because we had actually kind of put the arm on them to get them here to get that particular contingency, because we didn't want the problems we see happening with the problems down there during that particular time. Nothing usually good happens after 12 o'clock anyway, midnight. So with the chief's help, we were able to get this deal done. And I think the other part of the deal was the landscaping on the southwest corner, right?
Island Drive,
Mhm.
on the south end of the park.
And we're certainly willing to provide additional landscaping beyond what's in the code. We have no concern with that.
Now, we don't have actually a plan to see right now, but there will be one coming up when they go for their permitting. So we will be able to see exactly what's going there in a future
There
date.
is a preliminary landscaping plan that was submitted with the special exception application. It doesn't address any landscaping at the south perimeter. It deals with the southwest corner
Right.
and any impacts.
And that's not on that.
No, so it's not, that doesn't include that, but obviously any future ones would address that.
So we'll be dealing with that at the permitting stage then, correct?
That's correct.
I
Okay.
have a pretty simple question here. You said you'll work with us to accomplish the landscaping that we want. So do we have approval on the final landscaping, or just review?
You would have review and approval.
Yeah.
It's review and approval.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean,
But it was a preliminary just to get more
Right,
landscaping
to get
over there
more
than we have
blockage.
now, that was on the original plan.
Yeah. And I had a question which approaches from a different aspect, the water. The gentleman that was here before said you guys were going up to 50-foot slips. And this package, which I think was put together by our town, this long memo, says you're gonna keep the identical number of slips at 28, but then the next sentence says you're gonna have 21 plus 4 plus 4, which is 29.
Well, actually, what is in one of the other side things that was discussed is that in the interlocal agreement, there is a limit to 20 leasable slips.
Yeah.
We were showing 21 on the original plan, but that was discussed, previously, and
We're
everyone's
down to
agreed
20?
that we will limit it to 20. So effectively, we will have one less slip in the future than we have now. We'll have the same number of leasables, but overall, we'll have one less.
And what about boat sizes?
Both sizes, it has, I mean, the plan shows a range of sizes. I think they show berths for 35 feet and up to 50 feet.
Limit at 50.
Well, just on literally the physical size of the berths. I mean, it's been sized that way. Obviously, you can put a smaller boat in a big boat,
Yeah,
you
sure.
can't put a big boat in a
But
small
you can't
boat.
put something larger
Right,
than 50.
right, absolutely.
And how many 50-foot slots are there?
I think there's 16 of the 20 leasable, because obviously you can
Wow.
put a smaller one in a big one, you can't do vice versa, so.
All right, so any other questions?
And not enough for your fleet, Steve.
I was just.
No, I know it's a
I don't know if I'd
concern
put my
at the north
50-foot
end.
yacht over there in Boynton Inlet, I know that.
The amount of, right now, there's not 16 50-foot boats there.
No, that's true.
There's
But there are
probably,
some big
what,
boats there. There are some big boats, but not.
So,
So when you're
unless it's
talking,
inappropriate, Jerry, I think, was trying to.
when you're talking about the interlocal agreement, you're talking about the 1984 agreement, is it? 85, yeah, right, okay.
Yeah, the one between the county and the town.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right.
Deals with landscaping and the.
Yes.
All right, so we'll go ahead and, you guys can go sit down, and we'll open up the public comment real quick.
Thank you very much.
Jerry?
Jerry Ray, 130 Island Drive. At the committee meeting that we had several weeks ago, we discussed many things, but one of them was the fact that this work was going to be staged. And the first section of work would involve replacing the existing seawall at the southwest end. Now, what I heard a moment ago is that we will have review and approval right with respect to the landscaping, but are there any standards that have been established that will allow us to approve with regard to X, Y, and Z, size of trees, types of trees, and so forth? Or is it just going to be an open-ended kind of thing?
My presumption is opening to the whole plan that we'll have to be reviewed by the town. And then at
Okay.
that point, it become, that's gonna come back to the town commission anyway, would it not?
When they get all their DEP approvals and their county health approvals and all the others, it will come in for permits and all the things that they have to do through the town, but it doesn't necessarily come back to you at that point in time, as long as they meet all code and conditions.
Who sets the code as far as the height of the seawall that they're going to repair or adjust on the park? Is that, I mean, we have no ordinance for that, so that has to come out of the county, correct?
I mean, the height of the seawall, it would be probably the same as the existing seawall. And those seawalls are relatively high compared to most others on the Intracoastal. They are, quite a bit higher. I'm not so sure about the southwest corner wall there, but certainly the ones around the marina are somewhat higher than most of the ones I'm familiar with around the Intracoastal.
Yeah, they're much higher.
A couple of feet higher, so. I mean, to my knowledge, there isn't, I know municipalities do have like a minimum, for private docks and seawalls, they have a minimum elevation. So you don't put your dock and seawall down in the high water. But otherwise, I'm not aware of any other minimum elevations given by other agencies.
Well, I just want to clarify that we have an absolute right in our total discretion to approve or disapprove the landscape plan. And there are no pre-existing standards against which you will come in with a plan.
It'll have to
Well-
be your code, the town.
Has to be
Well,
That's my point.
If I can, I mean, what we're getting at here, and the reason we wanted it in the special exception is that, you know, we're kind of asking them to go beyond our code, and they've agreed.
Yeah.
So it's kind of difficult for us to say, you've got to comply with their code, when they're actually giving us more than possibly what the code requires. So that's why we're doing it this way. You know, and so, okay, so when the site plan comes forward, I mean, staff is aware of the direction from the commission. The representatives from the county are aware of that, and, you know, so that's,
Sure, I
yeah.
understand. Is it
Okay.
a little bit more or a lot more? And therein lies the problem.
Well, I imagine, well, I don't know, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but I imagine we would be looking at quite a bit more than maybe what the code requires, because I'm not sure of the exact, you know, if there's really a lot of, and I hate saying this, but, you know, a lot of code requirements for that, okay?
Exactly.
And so that's why they're agreeing to do this, and,
1985 agreement addresses a landscape barrier.
it addresses some of it, but they're even going beyond that. So, because if you look at the 1985 agreement, there wasn't a lot of, you know, landscaping
Sure.
there, so.
So, understand.
Right.
Good. And then as far as the extension of the docks are concerned, by reducing the number of slips, are we also reducing the length of the extension to the west of the dock system?
If you can come up and.
Yeah, come on
Yeah,
up.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I mean, based on removing the one leasable space, I mean, that really, I wouldn't anticipate that making the dock go not as far to the west as is currently shown on the plan. We would just literally eliminate one of the slips that's probably closer to the land. So, I mean, I think we discussed in our meeting a few weeks ago that the furthest boat out to the west is going to be about 30 feet further out than before, which is, to some that's a lot, to me that's not a lot, but
But why wouldn't the 30 feet be reduced by the width of a slip?
because what we would do is just, if you look at the plan, there's a slip with a boat mooring on either side. We would just remove that mooring on the one side of the one slip, which is on the nearest side to the
The land side?
yeah. I mean, that would be the simplest and easiest thing to do. Otherwise, we'd have to totally reconfigure the end, and you know, plus we have two doubles on either side, so we leave one, we're gonna end up with a 2 and a 1 configuration or some.
Is Jerry's
peculiar
question,
little thing
why
like
is
that.
it extend 30 feet if we're losing a slip? Isn't that what you're asking?
Exactly.
Well, why is it still extending 30 feet?
Pardon?
Why is it still extending 30 feet? Because it was
Why
extending.
is it going to extend 30 feet?
Well, it's going to extend 30 feet originally, just because of the configuration of the marina, the boat sizes, the slips.
it's a boat size
It was,
issue that
and the
needs-
floating dock system
Size.
being further out, so, you know, now we're deleting one, we would have to do a total reconfiguration of the marina to bring that back, and I don't think it would bring it back, because you'd bring it back on one side, but you still have it on the other. So you'd have one boat 30 feet further out instead of two boats. So,
No, I
is
got
that better, is it worse?
Sure. Well, going back to landscaping, I'm still a little bit concerned because that park can be pretty active and pretty noisy. And so landscaping is a big factor. And
Right.
I'm wondering if there's some way we could pin down how much additional landscaping and not leave it open-ended. Is there a way to do that?
What do you think?
We could put a condition of approval in there to say that we will landscape within an additional, it's getting down to numbers here, so we're still in the conceptual stage here when it comes to that. And certainly, we're more than willing to, as good neighbors, to do what we can to increase the landscaping that's there. You know, look, as much as we want to be shielded from looking in, we also want to be shielded from looking out. So look, we're certainly willing to work, I just don't know, if we can pinpoint a 10 or 15 or 20% more landscaping beyond what's in the code. Other than giving you my word that we will certainly go above and beyond what's required.
Sure, and obviously, there's issues like shrub tree size and the variety and that kind of thing, so, and the density of the foliage.
I think one of the things that would happen with this condition in there, if staff is concerned that the county is not meeting this condition, we would bring it back to you all to get your interpretation of, does this meet the condition or not? And then we would probably have some further discussions with the county, so hopefully staff can work it out.
How about if we add some language?
Excuse me, folks.
To Exhibit A, number 2, you guys, my understanding is your concern is abating the noise, correct?
Yes.
Okay, why don't we add something that says, comma, at the end, reasonably adapted to reduce the level of noise heard by the adjacent landowners, something like to that effect.
Well, how are they gonna do that?
Well,
You know, I look at it this way, if we go by the code, and they go by the code, it's not even what we have there now.
I got it.
So, if they're saying we're going to make it twice or 3 times, can we do this? Can we just see a preliminary or basically a final drawing of what's gonna be there, what name, basically show the plants what the plants are, send it to us so we can take a look at it, or the staff's gonna see it anyway. And if the staff thinks that it's inadequate, at that point, they bring it, they say, hey, look, it's gonna be adequate, we're gonna have to show it to the commission, and then we go from there. If it is adequate, then it would be part of the permit package. We can leave that to the staff, can we not?
Sure, fair enough.
All right.
All right?
Thank you.
Is that it? Thank you.
So
right.
I have a question for the town attorney. What exactly are we voting on right now?
Okay, what I would ask that you do is that, because you'll see I put something in front of your desk, a resolution. There's not a resolution number on there yet, but we can do that. And if you want to grant it, you would approve this resolution, which in turn approves the special exception, because what this resolution does, it adopts the 1985 interlocal agreement, so we're still incorporating that into your approval, and it also adds conditions onto the plans that are before you, and that's what's actually, that's what you're looking at as far as it relates to the special exception. However, we're adding 2 conditions. One of the conditions, and I'll modify the language there if you all are okay with that, to say Palm Beach County shall provide additional security over, additional security, it should be on-site from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and all holidays over the Ocean Inlet Park area, where such personnel shall be on the Ocean Inlet Park premises continually during this period of time, then possibly period. However, this condition may be amended upon the consent of the chief of police, if in his judgment or something to that effect, where it gives the chief of police the ability to amend this if, let's say, 3 months down the road, or I guess it'd be longer than that, whenever you get it, or whenever you start the on-site security, let's say 3 months from now, the chief looks at it and says, you know what, we need more, or he may look at it and go, you know what, their initial thing from 12 to 6 is okay. I don't know, but that would, I think that's kind of what kind of compromise that we're looking at here.
One of the concerns that I have down the road is, even though it's not a significant dollar amount, down the road, if we run into another recession, we have budget cuts, it might be one thing that we need to consider down the road, as well as if, the activity that's out there has been reduced, or, to be able to just have the ability to adjust hours at some time, I think is good.
Okay, and I mean, if you want to say that further, it said the chief of police can modify the hours, however, in no event shall it be less than midnight to 6 a.m. Whatever you want to do, whatever direction he wants.
In a nutshell, chief?
The agreement as it stands with the 11 to 7 or midnight to 6, as Mr. Chet has recommended, is fine to start. I think that we can look with the county and determine perhaps we will adjust those hours backwards or forwards depending upon, we just went into daylight savings time. We're probably going to see less activity at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning because of daylight at this point than we would in the summertime. We may want to bring that back to 10 or 11 depending upon the ranger services. But I think this is a good start. I do. I think that the activity that is there after the park closes to regular use and is only open to fishermen is the key to when we need security personnel.
Or we could get the sheriff to get off his wallet and go around to actually do his job down there.
You don't have to preach that up.
All right, so anyone to make a motion for the resolution? What are we gonna call the resolution
We
anyway?
can just read.
Let's do it like this. I move that we adopt the unnumbered resolution to be numbered by the clerk of our town.
Yes.
With the Exhibit A conditions amended as follows. Paragraph 1 shall read, Palm Beach County shall provide additional security oversight on-site from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and all holidays over the Ocean Inlet Park area, where such personnel shall be on the Ocean Inlet Park premises continually during this period of time. However, this time may be amended on the consent of the Ocean Ridge Chief of Police.
Perfect.
Okay? And number 2, Palm Beach County shall provide additional landscaping along the southern boundary of the park adjacent to Island Drive, which shall be incorporated in their plan submission, their plan submission for permit, and the permitting shall be, for the landscaping, shall be subject to Ocean Ridge Commission approval. Is that what we've agreed on?
I don't know if I.
No?
I mean, if
Don't
you
want that?
want that, that's gonna have to come back
It's
to
gonna
you.
keep
so-
coming
You don't
back.
want, okay.
Upon approval from.
Let me amend that on approval by
Staff level approval.
staff level, and town manager and.
We'll just say approved by the town manager. How's that?
Approved by the town manager.
Yeah, he knows what we want.
How's that?
How's that work? Is there a second to that motion?
I had one question before we get a second. Jim, did you actually say for a special exemption application?
No, I said we're going to adopt resolution, the unnumbered resolution, which shall be numbered by the clerk of the
I
town.
think we should just put in a phrase that says, which is a special exemption application by Palm Beach County.
No, that's what it says.
Or special exception.
It's in the title. It's all- I don't
Okay.
think we need to do it.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Gail, thank you. Any other discussion? Public comment?
Should we go?
Yeah, he's-
We'll be back, okay?
Don't go far.
So I gotta watch what I say. Terry Brown, Harbor Drive South. First of all, some of us remember when this was really a fun place to be, but the population has just, it's overpopulated for the amenities that are there, and it happens all the holidays, it's overloaded. So I wanted to express my appreciation and thanks to you. It sounds like you were the one that were doing the arm twisting and the neck hold to get the additional security. And that's really a great thing in the evening hours. But my question is, will those folks, if they're not a deputy and not a ranger and they're under contract, would they have the police authority? Would they have a direct link to Ocean Ridge Dispatch? Or who would they call if there was a large issue? Because that's real important.
The conditions discussed with Mr. Call last Monday indicated that they will do everything they can to have a park ranger present. They do not have arrest powers. It is a presence to monitor the activities of the park. And because the park actually extends into 3 different jurisdictions, they will be instructed on the proper means of asking, they will have authority to ask people to leave, obviously. And failing that, much like a park ranger, they will notify the proper law enforcement authority. In that meeting, the captain of District 6 with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office asked Mr. Call to coordinate with the Sheriff's Office and his district, as well as our police department in Manalapan for at least a 2-week period for additional law enforcement presence to try and make this work for the town of Ocean Ridge and for the town of Manalapan, and to gain some control and have a highly visible presence so that we can forego any future problems. That plan was proposed by the sheriff and accepted by myself and Chief Maddox as the best case scenario right now. I think that we have a viable plan. Whatever we can do to enhance security at this point in time is in fact going to be an enhancement and good for the town.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Come on up, Betty.
Betty Bingham, 1 East Ocean Avenue, Ocean Ridge. If my memory serves me correct, at one time, that was a private marina. And the county moved in and took it away from the private marina because of health conditions with the slits for the boats. I want to know if they're going to have to live up to the same standards that they imposed upon the marina that was there many years ago, when that's the way they took it away from the private owners. That's number one. Number two, I wouldn't do anything until they prove they can pump us the sand we need to have pumped for 2 months running.
Thank you, Betty. Any other public comment? All right. Hearing none, any other discussion from the commission? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, guys. Okay, moving on to reports. All right, Jamie, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. I know we have a long agenda, so I will try to be brief. My written report is in your backup package. Just I'll hit some quick highlights. Where staff and town is in the process of getting FY17 together for our annual audit. We're actually gearing up for 3 separate audits right now. We have the annual fiscal year certified audit. We also have the Inspector General's office who's in town checking us out for capital assets audit. And we have FEMA coming into town to audit us for all the expenditures and storm-related situations. So we're very busy on the front end of the house and, well, in all departments to meet all those audit requirements. We have till the end of November to complete the fiscal year for FY17. We're already, as you know, in FY18. I wanted to mention, you know that there was a issue on 8 Inlet K, which is a cul-de-sac out Inlet K, where a private contractor had walled over our stormwater system, rendering it useless. We worked with the building department and the contractors and the town engineers, and we got that replaced, that outfall completely replaced and out the seawall, so it's now operating almost fully, except we're expecting tomorrow the duckbill tidal flap, which will be delivered. It's en route to us now, which is a custom-made anti-backflow flap that'll be delivered to the town and installed this week, and then that system will be sound and dry again. Meanwhile, the rest of Inlet K Island has been performing quite well since the tidal flaps and the various maintenance operations we've been doing it on lately. We didn't mention it, but December 2nd, which is a Friday night, is the annual Light the Lights here in Town Hall, so we hope you'll all attend that in the evening to enjoy the festivities with residents and see all the beautiful lights going up on all the trees in Town Hall. I want to mention briefly that Sergeant Kurz retired last week, so we have an opening in the police department. We wish him well on his future endeavors. I do want to mention, after a long time, and thanks to the assistance of the mayor, and I received last week, I was happy and a surprise after a long time to receive the title deeds to 2 small slivers of land that are at the head of Harbor Drive subdivision. Not that they're really useful for much, except beautification and or drainage opportunities in the future, but the town has transferred that title to, the county has transferred that title to the town, and we're very appreciative of that. Finally, I'd like to mention that we just received a letter from the Department of Revenue, and we are 100% in compliance with all our trim and tax related reporting and advertising and annual budget process with the Department of Revenue, and we got a letter to that effect, so pleased to announce that. I think that's pretty much it. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Jamie, who's responsible for installing the valve on Inlet K now?
Well, I spoke
Once it comes in.
Yeah, I spoke to several of you independently. The longtime company we've been working with that has been doing our drain maintenance and repairs and installation work has just gone out of business. Wednesday of this week, the day after tomorrow, I have a meeting with a new company out of Pompano that does the same thing. When the valve comes in and it's due to be shipped in tomorrow, we'll arrange on Wednesday, either through the new company or Barnacle Busters and/or Public Works, to install it on the outfall at Inlet K.
Now, there was a valve in the original pipe that was blocked by the contractor?
The outfall pipe itself was walled off by
Right.
a new prefabricated seawall that was installed.
But it had a valve in that pipe?
It did have a valve in that pipe, but the contractor
So my-
disavows any knowledge of the valve that was there at one time, so that's a separate issue we're working out as to.
So that's where I'm going with my question is, I guess the town is paying for the new valve. Isn't the town's going to pay to have the new valve installed when it was the contractor that blocked the pipe and, I guess, destroyed the original valve?
In order to accomplish as quickly as possible the emergency restoration of the drain system and the outfall in the valve, the town is taking on the expense to make sure that gets done quickly. We will most likely be making a claim against the private contractor for the approximately $1,800 valve and the installation thereof.
Okay, that takes care of my question.
That could take a while, but we are going to go ahead and get it. It is the town's drain system, and we're going to get it fixed as
Understood.
quickly as we can.
Any other
Did
questions?
that answer your question?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Brian?
Nothing.
Thank you, Brian.
Attached, you'll find the monthly report for September. If you have any questions on that, I'd be more than happy to answer your questions. I want to mention Boynton Beach Fire Rescue's response during the hurricanes. We worked well together. Chief Joseph, who had to leave, obviously, continuously provided us with updates, had personnel over here whenever possible, and we were in constant contact during that emergency event, which I think is the first time since I've been here in 12 years. So I give them kudos for stepping up their service. Their services seem to be improving under his watch, so the town is doing well. In addition, I think I need to mention that at the Light the Lights ceremony on December the 1st, the police department is attempting to do the first time ever a child AD program. So if you bring your children, not only do we anticipate a special visit from Santa Claus, but we may be doing some fingerprinting and photographing to give you to take with you in case there is a child emergency ever. So keep that in mind. And we have some free giveaways that we like to do, so we want to encourage everybody to come out and enjoy themselves. November the 8th, Wednesday, 7:30 to 9, we will have our first seasonal Coffee with a Cop. If you get up at 7:30 or sometime between then and 9 o'clock, you'd like to stop by, have some stale bagel, maybe bad coffee, and some warm orange juice, we will be here, okay? And we'd love you to come by, and hopefully it'll be better than that, and answer any of your questions that you need to have us answer individually, any concerns at all. We like seeing you, we like talking to folks. It's our way of trying to get you to come and meet us as a group. So I encourage you to come to that. And finally, our first ever beach cleanup that was orchestrated by Officer Salm and orchestrated to success with the help of the Garden Club, the residents, Officer Stang, Massimino, and Boyle, and under the direction of Richard Jones, was a huge success. We will be planning another one of those events sometime in January when everybody is here. We anticipate announcing that a little more, and we hope to make that a town-wide event so that you can meet the police officers and we can make sure that our most valuable asset, the beach, is clean, protected, and well-managed. I think that those folks that volunteered to do that and come up with that idea deserve credit, so I'd like to give that at this point. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Chief. I'd also like to say, I recognize Lieutenant Jones for his work during that, in the middle of the night, because he's the one that drove down from Port St. Lucie and stood with his bathing suit on, turning on that pump. So I really say thank you for.
You got a photo of that?
Yeah.
Thankfully, no.
All righty, thank you, Chief. All right, moving on to action items. Jamie?
Thank you, Mayor, and to reiterate, I might have misspoke. It is Friday, December 1st is the holiday lights. I think I said the 2nd, so the chief corrected that. That's a Friday night. The next item is an introduction. The town did a request for qualifications out to look into doing a study for the Inlet K Island, which is a man-made island, as most of you know, to study the issues of the tides, the drainage system, the water system there, and some of the infrastructure we have and what we might do about it. The sole qualified respondent to the RFQ, after all said and done, was Higgins Engineering, Inc. We have Mr. Robert Higgins here this evening. He's a professional engineer, and he is the namesake and principal behind the company. You probably, if you read the book you got during the RFQ process, you will recognize that Mr. Higgins is quite accomplished. I think he wrote some of the rules and regulations that the South Florida Water Management and other agencies that regulate this stuff today still deploy and go by. So he's got tremendous institutional knowledge. I asked him to come here this evening to entertain any questions you have and get a sense of parameters as to what the scope and size of what you'd like him to look into, because obviously in this type of study, the sky's the limit. So we want to constrain him so he doesn't get too far out there. So he's here tonight to present himself and answer questions you have to move forward on the Inlet K drainage study that we've been talking about. Mr. Higgins.
Thank you. Yeah, Mayor, Commissioners, pleasure to be here this evening. My name is Bob Higgins with Higgins Engineering. Good introduction by the town manager. Yes, I was at the Water Management District many years ago and wrote some of the criteria that some people hate, some people love, but that was what I started out doing. Later on, I went into private consulting with a large firm here in West Palm Beach, and then I started my own firm in 1984, so it's been in existence over 30 years. I've got close to 40 years experience myself, and it's primarily in water resource engineering. That's my educational background. In terms of the company, we do about a 50-50 mix between municipal work and private work. Some of the municipal clients, West Palm Beach, Wellington, City of Weston, for instance. I was involved with pretty much the development of the whole city of Weston. It started out as 10,000 acres of barbed wire fence, and now it's a city I don't even recognize. But obviously drainage is a very important topic, I'll say, for the town, and I'm ready and willing to go ahead and take a fresh look at it all. I know it's been looked at before, but I'm a fresh set of eyes. I'm not going into this with any prejudices or any preconceived notions. I want to take input from everybody and then filter through that and come up with some conclusions and then some recommendations for the town. As Mr. Titcomb said, yeah, I'm here to answer your questions and also to get some definition of the scope as to what you may be looking for from my firm. So with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Questions?
From my perspective, I think the island of the Inlet K, the Inlet K Drive, having fixed the drain at the end of Inlet K, seems to be working fine. Urethra seems to be fine. Where our primary problems that I'm aware of are the Spanish River and Bimini Cove Drive, and so I would like to see your firm kind of focus in that particular area. That may include the drainage systems, the road levels, the seawalls, those types of things. But I think to have you spend time on a couple of areas on Inlet K that seem to be working fine right now wouldn't be necessary. So that's kind of like my 2 cents on it.
I just had 2 questions. Have you ever done work on a town on a barrier island?
Town Barrier Island. I'm sure I've done some work for Palm Beach through the years. But just by coincidence, I have a house up in Stewart that's on a 60s finger-filled subdivision, pretty much like the town, and it experiences flooding due to low spots, but that's just by coincidence. It doesn't make me an expert, but yeah, I've got experience in coastal work, doing coastal facilities, including docks, seawalls.
Gotcha. And somebody mentioned, I think it was Jerry mentioned the cost of the project. Is it asking you too much to perhaps do us, I can do X for Y, I can do, Z for A. In other words, break it down, because I'm sure Jamie's described the problems, or what we think of the problems, we don't know what the problems are, over in the Spanish River area. And it could involve anything from malfunctioning valves, the seawalls, to back up into coastal water, to perhaps an underground river that's causing some of the issues. So we'd be asking, because we're just concerned about the cost of doing the actual study. Is there a way to break it up into part A and part B? Okay.
And my work for the town will be hourly with a budget set for a specified scope. And if it goes beyond the dollar amount, that's the time to say, stop, let's take a look at it, where we are, where we need to go. But it can be set up into I'll call it a menu type proposal.
Exactly. So we get accomplished menu item A.
Sure.
For X, and then we move to menu item B.
Yes.
From listening to all of the resident comments and the town manager's input, I think what we're looking for is an analysis of Inlet K's current drainage system and its ability to handle runoff and storm water in light of the known, I guess, the underground water flow. We're probably going to need to know the ability to handle in like a 10-year storm, a 25, 50-year storm, 100-year storm. I don't know what the parameters are any longer. That's what I used to know. I don't know if they've changed at all. But that's probably, I think, what we're looking for, and the cost to do that analysis. Am I making myself clear?
Yeah, it's basically to find out the capacity of
Yes.
the existing system.
Exactly.
And of course, it's been modified in certain locations that will have a higher capacity than some of the others, but that can be evaluated and should be.
Yeah, that's something that you're planning on doing?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great.
Because, it's,
So-
the roadways and whatnot have been modified and corrected over the year, but I believe that the drainage systems and the holding tanks that overflow into the intercoastal are pretty much still the same that were there in 1965. And so, in my mind, that system needs to be looked at, and its capacity to hold water until the tide goes down so that it can drain with the valves and so on and so forth that we have now. So that, in addition to what they're talking about, the spring that comes in underneath, is problematic, especially on the Spanish River Drive side.
Sure. I follow all of that in terms of analyzing the entire system, and concentrating on the problem areas. And if I was just to guess, probably the standards that were used were much less than they are today. just looking at the system, it's, would be different today if somebody was to develop it.
It's my understanding also that, I'm not sure about who it is, South Water Management or the state has put in requirements that stormwater needs to be filtered or before it can be dumped out into the intercoastal. And we have the detention pond over on Wilbright and A1A that takes care of the south end of the town. But we have nothing of that sort on the north end. And I'm not sure, you know, how that will affect what type of recommendations that you make, you know, to try and fix some of the flooding problems we have in that area.
Yeah, there is a state requirement for doing water quality treatment prior to discharge, and that would be if you were to do a substantial improvement to the system to increase the capacity, but the state would look to you to treat the water first before it went into the intercoastal, and it gets to be sometimes quite costly to a point where you end up settling for a Chevrolet instead of a Cadillac.
So let's just review the whole process here. What you're really looking for, we're looking for, the RFQ pretty much, you know, put it in general terms, but specifically, what is going on there now? And then how many different ways is going on there, which is rain, flooding, groundwater, all those put together. What is going on there now? How much can the system handle as it stands today? And secondly would be, okay, what do we need to do to aid in fixing that, to eliminate the flooding problems? Now, you can go from, I like to see like almost like a Chinese menu kind of thing, or this is the least expensive to the most expensive there is, because that's, to me, you want to see the whole comprehensive report so you can make the right decisions for that area down on the north end of town.
No question, there will be some decisions that will have to be made by the town and not by me as to how much you want to fix the problem.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. I'd like to see exactly, you know, how bad do you want to fix a problem? Well, if you want to fix it to where it's completely fixed, this is what it's going to cost, and whatever it is. And this is what it would cost to do it this way, and this is what will happen if you fix it this way. This is what will happen if you fix it this way, and so on and so forth. What is the time factor involved in that? And versus the rising sea levels, as we've heard, and these king tides, what do we do, you know, 10 years from now? Is this a 10-year plan? Is this a 20-year plan, 30-year, and so forth? And what is the culpability of the town? What is the historic nature of what's been there until what it is now? All those, all that information comprehensively, so you can make a good decision on how to spend the town's money to fix it.
Sure, it's something that would be something you would take and then outline each year, okay, we're going to go ahead and do X.
Exactly.
And next year we'll do Y, et cetera. That's the typical approach.
And how large is your company?
We have currently 5 people.
Okay. And are you the sole engineer, or there's
No.
other?
There's 3 professional engineers.
Oh, you have 3, all right.
Yeah.
All right. And you're going to survey the property as well? Is that part of your?
I had not anticipated surveying it. I figured that Ingenuity probably has quite a bit of survey available. One thing that I do want to evaluate is all of the soil borings. And the soil borings for the new homes that were used to establish what kind of pilings are needed for those homes. Because I did see the soil borings that were done for just the roadways, which are fairly shallow, but I want to see what's going on in the deep. I may need to do some additional soil testing, but I did not anticipate, or do not anticipate survey.
Okay. Does anyone make a motion or any more questions for Mr. Higgins?
I move that we authorize the town manager to negotiate a contract with Higgins Engineering to perform the Inlet Island Engineering Drainage Study.
And just so everyone is clear, I mean, you know, once this contract is negotiated, it'll come back to you at your December meeting. So, okay.
Second.
Second. Now, before we negotiate the contract, though, I'd like to have a site visit to that area so you can actually see what you're doing over there before, you know, not just something on paper and a map. You know what I mean? Because you can actually see, I mean, you can go over there and actually see the water coming out of the ground and going down the valley gutters. So, and maybe even go during a king tide event.
I
So
went-
there's just,
I went there last week.
oh, did you? Great.
Yeah, just
Get a
do
little
a
head up,
quick.
well,
yeah.
get a leg up on the job.
He spent some time in my map room, too.
Oh, did-
Yeah.
All right.
Will you
But
be
I
will
need
you be
at least
talking-
another,
Mr.
another
Higgins,
trip.
will you be talking to any of the residents in that area as you go through?
I would not anticipate it, but sometimes it's unavoidable.
There you go. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Higgins.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to number 12.
Next item, Mayor, if I may, you have in your package, you may remember, we had Chris Wayne Associates do some conceptual designs. We would like to renovate the entryway feature, which is town property on the head of Harbor Drive, for the Harbor Drive subdivision. We circulated some various designs to the town, and I included them just for the purpose of visuals in your backup. So what I'm seeking for today is to go ahead with the authorization to get a final roster of project costs from Chris Wayne Associates to execute the reconstruction, the renovation of the Harbor Drive entryway island project within the thresholds that are allowed me up to $10,000 to execute the design. The reason I brought this forward to your attention as well is, as Mr. Delago, Chris Delago, is the landscape architect, he has pointed out to me that some of the species that some of the residents might like to use are very costly individual species. So the prices, depending on the final selection that you make for this renovation and beautification project, could drive the costs over my threshold, in which case I'll need to bring that back to you and get it signed off upon. But I just wanted to get any feedback and direction from you so that I can move forward on renovating that entryway. There had been some early discussion to try to retain some of the plantings that are already there for historic purposes. However, I think Hurricane Irma did a good job of rendering much of that plant stock less than desirable for that purpose, so that might enter into some of the direction we get as to what you want to see replaced there. But I'm looking for your direction, I'm looking for the authorization to move forward on the project and get it going, and then if something pops up that kicks it over my threshold, I'll bring it back to you all to approve.
I have a question. Why is it, the $10,000 sounds awfully high?
It's actually not high at all, especially because this project involves the addition of D or A curbing, which is a DOT requirement, as well as repairs to the irrigation system, as well as all new landscaping stock to rebuild the island. I think I mentioned in my note, we have a generous offer for hopefully the construction of a monument sign to top this off on the front end to identify the subdivision. But 10,000 does sound like a lot of money until you start parsing it out to those various projects, and it will get consumed quite quickly.
Do you have any idea what the cost of the curbing would be?
I haven't priced it out individually. There is curbing there, and I have to find out if that's going to be extracted or if we're going to add on top of it. I have to talk to our town engineers about that. My biggest concern is the level of plant stock, because that's where the most cost will come up as a surprise element. If for example, on, let's see which drawing it is, I believe it's the first drawing.
Well, one of, you know, the biggest thing is to keep the budget at 10,000, you know, or less. I mean, in any other budget going over that, it's gonna be too high.
Gets out of control.
Right. So, I mean, we can keep the silver buttonwoods, do some coconut palms in there. Annuals are probably not a good idea. Do something that's going to be salt tolerant and that kind of thing. So I'd just like to see it stay at the $10,000 or less.
Okay.
You're obviously a resident down in Harbor, but I'm surprised, like, is it okay to ask Jerry for his opinion on this? It must be.
You can ask for public comment.
We'll get public.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead,
I have
public
no
comment.
idea if you guys want this or not.
Mr. Brown may have a comment.
Oh, yeah.
that's what I thought.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say, many, many years ago, I talked to a previous town manager about the 2 strips of land in front of Ridge Harbor Estates, which belonged originally to the developer. He went bankrupt, and those 25-foot strips went back to the county on a tax sale. I tried to get the town manager, but apparently he wasn't real warm to me, to try to get that from the county and put landscaping in there in front of that. I don't know if you were there when there was walls there, you remember?
Yeah, I remember the walls.
We had a
One
party
fell
where we
fall
painted
down.
the walls, and it turns out those walls belong to those strips. Anyway, whatever the plan is for those strips, I'm hoping it's not gonna be pumping polluted water from somewhere else in town into a retention area, unless it works right. Not like this one on Tropical, which you spent millions of dollars in it. First time you needed it, it didn't work. At any rate, as far as the median strip goes, you will notice that the sable palms did not get harmed. As far as the silver buttonwood snapping off branches, the town's landscaper never paid attention to trimming those properly. And in nature, some branches will snap off the gumbo limbo and the buttonwood to protect the rest of the tree. That's what happened. It said, okay, I'm gonna give up this branch to save the trunk. At any rate, you could leave the sable palms and put coconut palms staggered in between and offset them so that you would have a palm island. You know, coconut palms are not native, but they're naturalized, like my wife. She's been here since 1970, so she's naturalized. I was born here.
I think your 3 minutes are almost up.
But you know what I'm saying? You could do different things. With coconut palms, it'd be a lot cheaper, and you could keep the sable palms and make it a palm island. And someone is volunteered, I don't know who that is, to put a monument in there. Is Valentine involved in that?
No, but I guess I could call him.
Yeah, I could talk to him.
There you go.
Terry,
No, sorry.
Mr. Brown, the coconut palms, is there a different palm that you can put in there? Because the experience that we have on Ridge Boulevard with the coconut palms is that they have to be trimmed.
The coconuts, that's right. Well, that's maintenance. That's called maintenance.
Well, when they get
And,
maintenance,
a
costs
couple times a
dollars.
year, you gotta cut them and trim them. But they have a distinctive Florida look. Some of these palms that you have in there, they don't look Florida, and they're gonna be costly, and then they may not survive wind and cold weather that comes roaring through there. Cold wind comes roaring through there if it ever happens. But there's Washingtonian pines, which are not native, but they look tropical. There are lots of other palms, many species of palms you could put in there.
Well,
And you could mix them up.
Well, my point is, with the coconut palms, we have them, and then if they're not trimmed when they should be trimmed, and you get a good blow coming through, and Ridge Boulevard has the same, we even have it more, it comes right down Adams and then comes down Ridge Boulevard, and when those coconuts become airborne, they take out windows, they take out the tile roofs, they do
Yeah,
quite a
I
bit
mean,
of
it's a
damage
problem
to
with
the
any
automobiles.
coconut palms anywhere where they are.
Never seen it.
No, but people don't get rid of them. They trim them. No one cuts down a coconut palm. They take care of them.
That's what we have maintenance for, right?
Hi, Cindy Martell, 46 South Harbor Drive. This has been an issue for 20 years or so. I mean, I went ahead and I was up here with the commissioners 20 years ago about that center island. I'm happy that we're addressing it again. The landscaping is very old. It's grungy. I know that you made a comment about Ridge, or about how much it was, for $10,000, but how much was it for Ridge? It was a lot. The town paid for Ridge, right? For where you guys live, that Center Island? Didn't the town pay for all that landscaping? I think they did. So, I mean, 10,000 is not a lot. I mean, we can disagree with what we're going to put in that Center Island, but it has to change. I mean, it is disgusting, all these beautiful homes around there now, and now you have such a horrible entry into our development. This is where we live. Our property values, everything is, I mean, you guys got to do something. I don't care what you guys plant, but things have to be taken out of that Center Island. So then, I know that you guys are just voting on the cost, but, you guys have to do something, or bring it, or give it back to the people that live there, South Harbor and North Harbor, and then we'll raise money to change that. It's horrible. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Jerry?
Jerry Lauer, 2 Harbor Drive North. Cindy's correct. There are some plantings in that island that are worn out. No doubt about it. The little feathery plants that are down closest to A1A, they are the absolute wrong plant to have in a wind tunnel like that space is. The small privets that were intentionally planted, and you're right, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, were intended to be kept at about 12 inches tall. They've grown to about 2.5 feet tall. They have a lifespan. They wear out, just like us. They wear out. Those plants are primed to be replaced. The cabbage palms, the silver buttonwoods need a good haircut. That's it. The cabbage palms proved themselves in that storm. They lost a few dead palms, but that's to be expected. They shine through as examples of what is storm resistant. The plan that Jamie circulated to all of you and to a few individuals in the community had some plants that our landscape company recommended that would work great in some neighborhoods, but not in a salty, windy environment. So it's not the desire to revamp and give a nice wash to that thing. It's the plant list that some of us have an issue with. The garden club, and I thought one of our other reps was going to be here, would be delighted to be sort of an advisory board. We've taken on a lot of work with the dune and come up with a planting list of things that actually survive and thrive in this salty environment that we have. We'd love to make the same recommendation, and I'm going to go out on a limb and I will volunteer to help, but I am not going to be the final vote because I live on that street. Somebody else in the garden club is going to come make the presentation and say, these are the ideal plants for it. But we'll bring some recommendation of that. You're absolutely right too. $10,000 is plenty. If you don't go in and replace the major plants, if what you do is replace the shrubs and improve the watering system, build up the curb. Thank you. The curb, which will then allow you to put more mulch into it, keep the humidity, the water level at the correct area.
Right.
We might actually end up with a median that will satisfy Cindy and Terry. And wouldn't that be amazing? Thank you very much.
Thank you. You plan on winning the lottery soon? All right, so back to the commission.
So the question is, which is, it's great to hear from the residents, it's kind of like, how do we make sure this doesn't occur with Jamie, the town maintenance guy, in a vacuum, so that you guys don't end up with something you like? So do we need to cement that, what Jerry's suggesting here?
Well, I think so, but I think the main thing we're doing right now is just approving the $10,000 so he can, okay, here's my budget.
Yeah.
Right?
Here's what I have to
We give him
spend
a
on
budget.
this.
When you give him a budget, then
What can we put in there?
the curbing's gonna be $2,500, $3,000 right off the bat. I can tell you that right now, because they gotta rip that out because of all the years of asphalt on top of asphalt. the curbing was this high, now, in the
It's about
20
2
years I've been
inches.
here, now it's even with the asphalt.
But the only thing I'm trying to
So there's
avoid
no
is
curbing.
that we don't end up 6 months from now and you guys say, that's not what we're talking about.
Well, no, I mean, you could always circulate it to email, there's plenty of email lists, you can email the final plan to everybody before we approve it here in the commission.
It's your neighbors.
Right. Yeah, I know, they come over. Golf carts. All right, so does anybody make a motion?
Let me think. I move that we authorize the town manager to negotiate an improvement to the Harbor Drive Island entryway, not to, and provide plans not to exceed $10,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion and second, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right, moving on to
I think you have one more action item.
13, no, we got two more, you got 13 and 13A.
13A,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
All right, Jamie?
Okay, this action item number 13 is to approve the Phase 2 milling and repaving cycle program that we're using our town contractors, All County Paving. You may remember we milled and paved $200,000 worth of streets in FY17, just this past spring and summer. A couple of the streets there got left off for appropriation reasons and have been moved forward to Phase 2 for this year's cycle in FY18. The commission once again appropriated $200,000 towards paving projects in the town. So we have the town paving program designed so that over about approximately a 10-year period, all the streets in the town will get paved. This is Phase 2 out of 5 phases for that purpose. You see in the list that I provided you, the suggested streets, which include the first 3 which are listed are carryovers from the FY17 or Phase 1 program. That would include the East Anna one-way segment, Beachway Drive in its entirety, and the Island Drive South on Harbor Island to the north. Those are the first priority streets. This price that's listed here also includes the anticipation of 2 Palm Beach County improved traffic calming speed tables along Beachway. In addition to that, there's a line item to include Osprey Drive, Dolphin Bend, and Dolphin Drive, which are the small side streets off Beachway in that area. And then in addition to that, we've included Fayette Drive, Douglas Drive, and Ocean View Drive, rounding out the total expenditures before engineering, which has a separate line item, to $195,329. The individual street segments were included as backup, both from the FY17 run as well as the prices for all the segments for FY18. And if you remember from the presentation earlier this year, the streets have all been categorized and ranked based on their condition and things such as the last time they were paved and other infrastructure considerations. So these streets are next up in the rotation unless the commission has any particular substitutions or issues with these selected streets. And as a final note, I would just let you know that as a service to the residents, Osprey Court and Beachway North, which are private segment streets, our paving company is working directly with the homeowners association for that project to try to piggyback paving, milling, and repaving of those private segments in conjunction with this project for the town, but that'll be handled as a separate contract. It won't go through town coffers. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I would just finally say, so you're aware, the paving program is due to begin as early as tomorrow, and we would start at the north end of the town by completing Harbor Island by doing Island Drive South in its entirety, and then that island will be completed in its entirety, moving then south towards East Anna and Beachway and these other streets as recommended.
All right, so basically, we're just moving on forward with the paving that we already approved a couple months ago.
Yeah, you're just getting the right of refusal in case anybody has a pet street that I didn't put on your priority list, but we're moving through.
We don't do
and-
that here, Jamie.
I know that.
All right, so does anyone move to approve this?
Mayor, I've got a question. We talked earlier about delaying Anna Street, and then we decided that construction was going to be too far down the road, so we would go ahead and pave it. But it looks like now that they're starting that construction, is there any thought on at least putting East Anna at the end? Would that help, or I'm just asking a question. I'm not recommending one way or the other.
Well, I think it's a process by the paving company. They want to do everything in a certain
Yeah.
way of so that it saves on the cost to the town. So they're already doing Corinne.
No,
and
Corinne's not on this
They're
run,
doing, I
but-
mean Anna. They're coming up Anna and then going over to,
The entire duration of the project roughly lasts about 2 weeks.
That's
From
it?
staging to paving, so whether we put one of these at the front or the end, or maybe 3 weeks, depending on weather and site conditions. We talked about, we delayed East Anna because it looked in the FY17 run that they were going to take off on the CCCL construction project up there. And we came to the determination in this particular recommendation that we can't control the timing of that particular segment, but the condition of that one-way L-shaped street is significantly deteriorated enough that we need to get it paved, and it will be on the contractor for that particular project not to damage it and/or repair it if it does get damaged in the process.
Okay.
And that's actually true of any town street, because we have construction projects scattered throughout the town that could present the same scenario.
I just don't want to hold up the rest of the residents just because one guy wants to build his house. I mean, we were going to do it because of the timing, but the guy, I mean, he's just
I'm
not
fine.
doing anything, so let him be responsible if he wrecks it. Let's get the street for the rest of the residents on that street. All right.
I move that we authorize M&M All County Paving to commence milling and repaving operations within the $200,000 appropriated for priority street segments as set forth in agenda item number 13, and including the 2 traffic hump installation, I believe, on Beachway Drive.
All right. The motion and second, any other discussion? Here-
Quick comment, you don't mind, you said it's an action item, anyone can make a comment.
Yeah, you can.
I only wanted to just comment, because it did occur on our street, about the content of the asphalt, the aggregate, the composition of it. And I don't know who was responsible for that. I know we piggybacked on another contract, which I would have done too. But it fell apart. A lot of it had to be redone. They had to go back down on the end of Harbor Drive and redo the surface all over again. And it seemed to have fallen apart in certain areas. So I don't know, I know it's too late to do this now, but who was responsible for looking at the content of the actual asphalt itself that was being placed down there? Is there a specification somewhere? Probably not.
Well, go ahead, Jimmy.
There are specifications, and they actually use one of the newer aggregate mix that are approved by Palm Beach County, and this is a widely vetted contract in multiple municipalities. As far as the damage that you're seeing at the end of cul-de-sacs, any pavement that goes down has to harden for a period of up to 30
And it was
days or
real hot.
longer. And a lot of the garbage trucks and construction trucks are doing 3-point turns in the cul-de-sacs.
And that's happening now on the same street.
The pavers will come back and tamp those down, but they have to wait a period of time. And related to that, the speed tables we're talking about doing on Beachway to slow down the traffic there, we have to wait 30 days on the curing of the milling and paving for that segment before we come back and put those inline speed tables in.
It's nice and smooth for the skateboarders.
Yeah.
It is.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Jamie. All right.
Okay, 13A.
13A is you.
I'm asking that the December 4 meeting, instead of starting at 6 o'clock, if we could move it either to 5:30 or even 5 o'clock. I've got to attend an awards dinner by the ADL, who's honoring a couple of recipients. And that would make it a lot easier for me to attend this meeting and go to the award meeting, the award dinner too. I really appreciate that, because obviously I would prefer to attend the town commission meeting and, rather than miss the,
Well, the
town
only
meeting.
the only thing I have, is there a problem with notification to the public?
No, we would have plenty of time to
Okay.
notice a meeting, that's not an issue.
What's your feeling on it? Does it matter? 5 o'clock?
Doesn't bother me.
5 o'clock?
5 o'clock would be perfect.
Don?
Fine by me.
All right, so you want, do we need to make a motion for this?
I'll move that we
I would.
change
Can.
the time for the December 4, 2017 meeting from 6 PM to 5 PM.
Second.
Motion second, any other discussion? Public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to resolutions. Gene, would you read the resolution,
Actually-
please? Or Jamie, some, read the resolution.
I'll probably go and handle it, it'll just go
Okay.
quicker for you. This is a resolution number 2017-18, resolution of the Town Commission of Town of Ocean Ridge of Palm Beach County, Florida, adopting the budget amendments for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2016, and ending September 30th, 2017, providing for an effective date. This is a housekeeping end-of-year function. On the second page of your resolution are a list of scheduled budget amendments. What this does is it moves expenditures within fund items to proper line items to make sure that no individual fund item is overexpended. This is the methodology defined in code, and because the budget's adopted by resolution, any budget amendments are adopted by like vehicle. The sum total of those movements are listed on the backup to this resolution. I'd be happy to entertain any questions you might have. In, I believe, every case, all the transfers occur within the fund balance department that they are listed in.
All right. So we make a motion?
I move that we adopt resolution number 2017-18 as set forth in item number 14 in our November agenda.
Second.
Motion and second. Public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, moving on to number 15.
Or I can do it, do you want to do it as the clerk, Gene? Because these are your election ones.
I'm reading for Tracy, who's not here. Mayors and Commissioners, the 2018, this is resolution number 1719, March 13th, 2018 election canvassing board. The 2018 election will be held on March 13th, 2018. There are 2 town commission seats available for a 3-year term. The seats are up for election are currently held by Mayor Jeff Pugh, Commissioner Gail Askoff. Candidate qualifying dates are noon on December 4th, 2017 to noon December 8th, 2017. Resolution number 2017-19 is to designate the Palm Beach County Supervisor Elections or designee as a member of the canvassing board, along with the town clerk or designee and town manager or designee, and to authorize them to handle the absentee ballots as is done each year. This is to meet the guidelines as outlined in state law, town code, election agreement between the county and state. Staff recommends approval of resolution 2017-19 as presented.
Okay, so we make a motion.
I move that we adopt resolution number 20, excuse me, 2017-19 as set forth in item number 15 on November 2017 agenda.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Public comment? Bob, you have public comment? Okay. Oh. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right, 16. It's your turn, Jamie.
I got it.
Okay, I'll do it. Just go to the next page, just go to the resolution title, it'll save you a lot of reading.
All right.
There you go,
Just the front part.
just by title.
Okay. Resolution number 2017-20. Resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Ocean Ridge, Florida, authorizing the mayor and the town clerk to execute the agreement for voting, processing, equipment use, election services by and between Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections, SOE, and the Town of Ocean Ridge, providing for an effective date.
All right.
I move that we adopt resolution number 2017-20 as set forth in item number 16 in our November 2017 agenda.
Second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? Public comment? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, going on to second reading of adoption of ordinances. Brian, you want to do the ordinance, or?
Sure. Okay, ordinance number 627, ordinance of the Town of Ocean Ridge, Florida, amending its code of ordinances by amending Chapter 63, General Administrative Provisions, Article 4, Site Plan Review Procedures, Section 63-51, Types of Applications, and enacting Section 63-56, Concept Development Plan Review to provide for concept development plan review of new construction, providing for codification, repeal of conflicting ordinances, severability, and an effective date. This is a second reading on this ordinance, and if you remember, this ordinance provides that for single and two-family homes, that plans shall be submitted to the Planning and Zoning Commission, as well as if there's a 50% increase in square footage or the cost. The commission shall review the plans in conjunction with the criteria set forth in the ordinance, and they will submit their findings to the Planning and Zoning, or to the zoning administrator for the town, who can then review that. However, the determination by the Planning and Zoning Commission is not an up or down vote. It is just merely a recommendation to the planning administrator for the town, and he will still be bound to follow the town's code in approving the plans or not approving the plans.
Thank you.
I move that we adopt ordinance number 627 as set forth in item number 17 in our November 2017 agenda.
I second.
There's a motion and a second. Public comment. Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, Brian.
Ordinance number 628, an ordinance of the Town of Ocean Ridge, Florida, amending its code of ordinances by amending Chapter 1, General Provisions, Section 1-3, Definitions, to clarify the definition of family. Chapter 67, Buildings and Building Regulations, Article 7, Building Standards, Division 3, Occupancy Limitations, Section 67-205, Occupancy Limitations, to clarify occupancy limitations, providing for codification, repeal of conflicting ordinances, severability, and an effective date. This ordinance is before you for second reading, and what this basically does, it reduces the town's definition of family from 5 to 3. It also provides that for all current people out there who exceed that definition of family, and that is for unrelated persons, where it reduces it from 5 to 3, that they shall have a period of 1 year or the term of the lease, as long as it does not exceed 1 year, to come into compliance.
And this becomes effective immediately upon approval this evening by the commission.
Yes, it does. And you know what, and I did forget to mention one thing. I believe on the previous ordinance that we had adopted, I think, let's see, yeah, that ordinance, just so you'll know, shall become effective on January 1st of 2018. So there is a little bit of a grace period there on that one. So sorry about that.
Okay, I move that we adopt ordinance number 628 as set forth in item number 18 on our November 2017 agenda.
Second.
Motion and second. Public comment. Name and address for the record. I don't know who are you.
I have to identify myself again?
Yes.
Terry Brown, Harbor Drive South. No, my question is, and this is a good thing. I know what we're trying to do, and I appreciate it, and I think it's a good thing. My concern is enforcement. If this is normally enforced under the code enforcement, you give a notice, you give another notice, and you give a hearing. So someone has to go to the door on a house that has a lot of people in there and ask for their birth certificates, driver's license, and their relationships. Now, who's going to do that?
Well, I mean,
even if a neighbor complains.
Well, this ordinance will be enforced the way that all other ordinances in the town of Ocean Ridge are enforced.
Good answer.
Next.
Thank
So
you,
we'll
Terry.
see how it works. I mean, maybe the notice that people know it's happening will be a good thing.
Any other public comment? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, moving on to town commissioner comments. Don?
I just want to have the commission, I believe most of the commissioners have read my memo as far as my activities in the community over the past month and looking into the sea level rise issues primarily those that are being brought about in Delray Beach. The commission kind of gave Jamie and I some leeway to look into these issues during this coming year, and that's what we're doing. So this report, rather than reading it all, is available to the commission. It'll be on the website for the townspeople to read it along with the minutes. But it's been an interesting 1-month journey, and I think there's going to be quite a bit more for me to do for the remaining year. And if there's any questions on the memo, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, Don. Any questions for Don? No.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing it up. All right, Jim.
Okay, on my commissioner comments, I wanted to bring to the citizens, residents of Ocean Ridge's attention, some, I think, very commendable action on behalf of one of our citizens. As you all know, or may not know, I guess, Palm Beach County Cares was established as a group of civic leaders, community organizers, governmental representatives, business representatives to provide assistance to the people in Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands who are still suffering from the effects of Hurricane Maria. It was started by Catherine Waldron, and who is a Port of Palm Beach commissioner, and Robin Bernstein, who is associated with, I think, Bernstein Insurance Group, and she's, I think, been appointed or nominated, maybe, as the ambassador to the Dominican Republic. They all put this thing together. There's probably 15 or 20 of us who've been meeting every Sunday to try to organize the relief effort to provide supplies, humanitarian aid to the residents of Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. In any event, we've been meeting every Sunday for the past several weeks. The first meeting I went to, there was a call for, there was a need for private aircraft to provide emergency medical assistance, to bring medical supplies to the island and carry out some people who needed emergency medical care and treatment. I knew that one of our residents, Rich Lucibella, had been doing some of that work on his own by bringing supplies over in his own plane at his own cost. So I called up Rich and I asked him if he would be willing to donate his plane and his time to bring over medical supplies and bring back some of the people that needed emergency medical treatment. He did, I believe, 2 trips through Palm Beach County Cares at his own cost. We offered to reimburse him. He refused the reimbursement, and he's supposed to do, I believe he's committed to do 1 more trip, either this weekend or next weekend. So I think his unselfishness and his altruism should be recognized, and I think the town of Ocean Ridge should commend and thank the generous and noble acts of Rich. And so that's what I wanted to bring to the town's attention. I don't know if you want to do it as a proclamation or just let me, tell you all what he did. Not too many people are willing to go to that length to help their fellow American citizens, and you got to remember Puerto Ricans and U.S. Virgin Islanders are all U.S. citizens, even though they don't have statehood. So that's what I wanted to say, and that's what I wanted to commend him for.
Well, thank you very much, Jim. It's very commendable.
Okay. The second thing I wanted to bring up is that you all probably read that I am running for House District Seat 89, which is where Ocean Ridge is. I'm having my campaign kickoff November 15th at 6:30 to 8:30 at Anthony's Coal Fire Pizza in Delray Beach, and you're all invited to go there. And
free?
Free, yes.
Free. Be there.
Drinks and hors d'oeuvres will be served, so you're all welcome to be there. I guess there's prohibitions on circulating that stuff privately amongst the town commissioners, so I'm not doing it. I'm doing it publicly and inviting the town commissioners and the office and the staff personnel and all the citizens of Ocean Ridge to come to the campaign kickoff.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Meeting's adjourned.